Stunning retro styling, superb sound quality, and designed to deliver everything that the modern music world has to offer. Let me introduce you guys to the new Ruark R410 integrated music system. But is all-in-one hi-fi the solution for you, or is traditional two-channel just too tough to beat? Let's find out. Hey guys, Louis from Smart Home Sounds here, and I've got an exciting one for you all today. Now, I've been lucky enough to get exclusive hands-on access with the new Ruark R410, a brand new all-in-one hi-fi music system with heaps of the latest connectivity, making the start of Ruark's newest collection, the 100 series. But before we get into all of that, I want to talk to you guys about all-in-ones themselves, because without beating around the bush, I know that these aren't going to be the ideal audio solution for everybody. But if you are the type of person who wants to downsize from traditional two-channel, craves the simplicity of modern streaming, or you just want a seriously stylish bit of kit that you can seamlessly integrate into your home, then this could be the solution that you've been looking for. Now, of course, fused walnut isn't the only option we've got when it comes to colorways either. There is also a soft grey version being released too, which, having had a little sneak peek, is probably my preferred choice of the two. But as always, that's just my personal preference. Now, when I say the words premium all-in-one music system, I'm sure a lot of your thoughts immediately go to the Naim Mu-So too, and rightly so. The original version, released back in 2014, was a stunning bit of tech and pretty much kick-started this as a category, properly paving the way for products just like this one here. So the fact that the R410 comes in at £1,299, which is the exact same price as the Naim Mu-So, is a clear sign of intent that Ruark are here to compete and see this being a direct rival to the big names in this space. Now, that's some pretty big boots to fill, and that's without mentioning the class-leading two-channel active options out there like the KEF LSX2s and many more, which come in at a pretty similar price point and are equally as tempting. Now, this isn't Ruark's first product though when it comes to all-in-ones. They've had plenty of success before with the likes of their flagship R7, the R5, and the more compact R3S, and they've garnered a lot of respect in the industry with their radios and class-leading MR1 Mark II Bluetooth speakers in their R series too. So I've got absolutely no doubts that this new edition is going to tick a lot of boxes and run things very close in terms of performance. Along with the endless connectivity options, according to the brand itself, every speaker in this new 100 series has been reviewed, honed and enhanced to make them their most advanced and desirable products to date, which, if you're a Ruark fan already, is a big plus. Now, you're probably wondering what this means for the R series. Well, the 100 series isn't here to replace it by any stretch. It's actually here to complement it, giving us more options moving forward with a new focus placed on the more modern approach to high fidelity listening, which can only be a good thing in my book. As the first release of the lineup, obviously the jury's still out about where the R410 will sit within the range, but with a larger Ruark R810 being rumoured for release later this year, you'd assume the long-term goal is to create a range full of choice, just like the R series. So why would you want something like this then? Well, if you want the short answer, it's because it can pretty much do it all, really simply. While there's a nod to Ruark's radio roots with DAB, DAB+, FM and internet radio support, the R410 also has all of the latest Wi-Fi streaming functionality too. So you've got streaming via Spotify Connect, Apple AirPlay 2, Tidal Connect and Chromecast built in, as well as aptX HD Bluetooth connectivity and high-resolution music file support up to 24-bit 192 kHz. Now, for those fans of the other Ruark all-in-ones, you'll notice there is a distinct lack of a built-in CD player, which may be a downside for some, but you'll still be able to connect your CD player using the dedicated linear or optical connection, which for us, this keeps things nice and clean. So, talking of connections, let's actually show you guys how much we've got in terms of connectivity so you can get a real grasp of what I mean here. So I want to show you guys to the back of the R410 very quickly, just to talk you through the various different inputs we've got. So first of all, over here on the far left, we've got our AC mains inlet. Now next up, we've got our sub output. So obviously if we'd like to add an external sub, then we can do so here. We've then got our phono stage input and our line in. So this is a big plus for us in terms of simplicity. Next up, we've got our optical input, and you'll notice our HDMI in eARC. So this is really handy if you want to connect up to a TV. We've then got our USB-C port and our Ethernet port, as well as, of course, our DAB FM radio antenna. So while the 410 has been designed specifically to suit streaming and the more modern methods of listening, we've got plenty of analog connections that give users plenty of connectivity. Now on this channel, we test lots of wireless speakers, and we have to say that when using Spotify or Tidal Connect, AirPlay and so on, the response time between connecting to the speaker, changing songs, pressing play, pause, and all that sort of thing is so quick, and genuinely one of the fastest that I've used. So I can't complain on this front at all. So a really big hats off to Ruark for this. Now, I know a lot of you guys will be dying to hear how this one sounds, but before we dive into the nitty-gritty of performance, let's talk about the design of this one, because after all, one of the main benefits of having a music system like this, rather than a 2-channel system or something similar, is how seamlessly it can be integrated into the home. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword though, because when it comes to all-in-one systems like these, just looking good isn't enough anymore, especially in this price bracket. Now, we're looking for something that offers something a little bit more unique. Now, the R410 does stick pretty true to Ruark tradition, and it's got plenty of stylistic features that we already know and love, blended effortlessly with some modern flair that really takes things to the next level. It's a decent sized unit, which is to be expected, but you've got this lovely handcrafted wooden cabinet and grille that's made from sustainable eco wood that really helps to feel smaller than it actually is. You've then got some really nice metal detailing throughout, which adds to the whole premium look and feel and echoes the fact that only the highest quality materials have been used throughout the design. On the top panel, there's not too much going on apart from this new and improved version of Ruark's iconic roto dial that's been taken from the R series. It's a really unique design that might take a little getting used to if you're new to Ruark products, but it's pretty much got it all control-wise. It's tactile, it looks great, and it works really well too. It's definitely a nice way of making this feel more like an extension of the R series rather than a complete replacement, which is a nice touch if you've already bought into the brand. Now, while we're on the roto dial, if you do want this speaker, you better like it, because the rechargeable Bluetooth remote follows exactly the same design. Now, it does look a little bit like a flying saucer, and it's a pretty weighty little thing. But again, it feels high quality, and to be honest, it's really good fun to use on a day-to-day basis. Now, a lot of brands tend to forget about the remote controls and let the quality slip a little bit by producing really bog standard remotes, but Ruark has definitely gone to town on this one, and I think this sort of attention to detail really does go a long way to improving the overall experience. It's worth knowing that you do have to get this one charged, which is a little annoying, and it might have been nice to have like a wireless charging port or something, but it's pretty quick, and I guess it's a better alternative to replaceable batteries at the end of the day. Now, this wouldn't be a design section without mentioning this new high-res portrait display on the front here. Now, I think it's going to be a little bit divisive, but considering you've practically got a small smartphone stuck on the front of your speaker, Ruark has done a really good job at blending it in with the rest of the design. Now, when the speaker is on, this screen will show either the album artwork or a clock, depending on your preference, but both actually look really impressive and make the screen feel a lot more unobtrusive than when it's off. Now, I'm a big fan of how this one looks on the whole. Ruark seem to have actually listened to their customer base, taken what's good, and made it even better with this particular model. I love the retro styling with that modern twist, and I think it actually looks more like a piece of furniture than it does a piece of tech, which is always a good sign for these sorts of products. Now, no, it's not going to be for everyone, but if we're talking about premium tech in this space, it's definitely up there for sure, and is arguably better than its competitors, depending on what you're looking for, of course. I mean, maybe if you're after something really minimalist, then you'd be looking at the Naim Mu-So too, but I could definitely see the grey version of this one being in my home, so I guess it just comes down to a matter of opinions. But let me know down in the comments below, do you rate the design of this one or not? Now, when it comes to setting this one up, it really is as simple as it gets. Once you've plugged it into the mains and have the aerial plugged in, you can be pretty much up and listening in just under 5 minutes or so. Now, obviously, if you want to hook up turntables and those kind of things, then it might take a little longer, but it's pretty much as plug and play as you're gonna get from something like this, which makes this an ideal choice for those of you who are looking for a simpler approach to hi-fi quality audio. Now, when it comes to internals, Ruark have pretty much started from scratch with this one. Apart from the 2 custom 20mm tweeters from the multi-award winning MR1 speakers, almost everything in the R410 is new. You've got 2 NS Plus mid-bass drivers, which are actually bigger in diameter than any in other previous Ruark models that we've seen, that are meant to be capable of delivering a max output of 120 watts. We've also got 4 compact Class D digital amplifiers too, which is a first for Ruark, so a good step forward there as well. There's also a brand new processor, which is really the brains behind the whole operation, and this is another step up on what we've seen from Ruark before. Now, on paper, things look good, but obviously specs are only half of the equation. What we all want to know is how this actually sounds, right? Well, I'm gonna give you guys a little taster now. But like always, remember that what you guys are hearing over YouTube won't be exactly what I'm hearing right here in our studio, but it should give you a pretty good idea of what you can expect from this sort of music system. Right, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I think for me, if we're talking about signature sound, Ruark have always done a really good job at presenting sound as warm, balanced and complete with an impressive richness that's a joy to listen to across all genres. And quite frankly, the R410 allows that exact same blueprint. Whether I was listening to jazz, classical, hip hop, soul or rock, the R410 handled everything I had to throw at it remarkably well. Now, with Ruark's other all-in-ones, like the R5 for example, I know there was a slight tendency to be a little too polite when it comes to the low end, and I think this is really where the R410 has actually come into its own. Now you can tell you've got an upgraded internal array here, as the bass presentation has actually taken a big leap forward and was really impressive overall. It was clean, tight, and it had enough presence behind it that you could really feel it around the room, especially in those bass heavier tracks that I personally quite enjoy. Obviously, hooking up a subwoofer might be a good choice in a more open plan space, or if you're looking for the very best, but I think you'll actually be pleasantly surprised with this one and might not necessarily need it. Additionally, while the overall bass response was better than I was expecting, I think the vocals were also one of the standout features from this speaker and would push the very best all-in-ones out there, like the Sonos Faber Omnia for sure. I loved listening to bands like the 1975, more sort of solo artists like Lewis Capaldi and of course Gregory Porter, and they all sounded as if they should have been coming from a high-end hi-fi setup, albeit without that larger two-channel stereo feel. Now naturally, this strength is pretty transferable to TV listening too, so if you're the type of person who really values the clarity and crispness of dialogue in your movies or series, then you're gonna really enjoy this one. Now I know a lot of you guys like to listen loud, and when it comes to high volume listening, this speaker did a great job at continuing to convey every element of the tracks that I listen to with as much detail and emotion as previously heard at more ambient listening levels. I didn't really experience any distortion at higher levels, which was also a big plus. So overall, a lot of pluses, but if I'm nitpicking, which we need to do on a £1,200 speaker, on some tracks, I did find the mid-range got a little flat in certain parts, but overall, nothing to take away from the experience. And all in all, the dynamics were really well measured, and the R410 has plenty in reserve to fill a decent sized space at high volume, so I can definitely see this being a good option if that's what you're after. I was also impressed by the overall spaciousness of its sound presentation too. Considering the directionality of the driver array, I think the openness actually goes far beyond the R410's form factor. In terms of size and scale, you'd probably be fooled into thinking the performance is that of a much larger speaker, so that was a nice surprise there too. Now I would say, having listened to the Kef LSX2s quite a lot, the soundstage isn't quite as wide as something like that, but in terms of its organisation and details between the layers, the R410 definitely put up a pretty decent fight from a single box solution. I don't think what you miss out on here is anything to really write home about. Overall, I think there's a clear sense that Ruark have focused on making the R410 a little more lively and in a good way in your face than their previous mid-sized all-in-ones. Now, to be honest with you guys, while I have listened to the Naim Mu-So 2 a lot, I haven't listened to it very recently, so I wouldn't want to give you guys an exact comparison, as I feel there's more testing that needs to be done. But considering they're both the same price, I think the R410 definitely pushes much closer than any Ruark product has before. I think the name will have some pros for some, but I think the Ruark R410 just captures the more refined and nuanced nature of high fidelity listening better, in my opinion. Both are brilliant packages, and which sound profile you prefer is up to you, but I think when you add in the benefits of the enhanced technology and that impressive UI, I could definitely see the R410 edging it for some of you guys. Again, design will play a part too, and the name is a more minimalist piece which you might prefer. Now obviously, I'm not going to tell you which looks better because that's got to be down to you, but for me, I think it's just great that we're getting more and more options in this space, because that can only mean that the tech is going to get even better moving forward. Ultimately, I think the Ruark R410 is a really compelling all-in-one hi-fi solution, and it will pose some really difficult questions. The first of which being, who's it actually right for? Well, I see this being a great option for those of you who are either already bought into the wireless space but want to continue making steps towards high-fidelity listening, or for those of you who are looking to downsize from a system of hi-fi separates and maybe want to keep your treasured turntable or CD player, as well as the added convenience of wireless streaming that still retains the nuances of a traditional listening experience. Of course, the price, the design and the layout of your space will also be important factors to keep in mind too, but if you want the bare bones of it, this one is really going to come down to where you sit on the whole audio hi-fi spectrum. Now, like I've said, an all-in-one solution won't be right for everybody, but considering the level of tech inside here, the near hi-fi quality and better yet, the stunning styling, I think if you give this one a chance, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this one, and if you've got any questions, then please drop them down in the comments section below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.